Alright guys, welcome back to Valorant News. The World Championship begins tomorrow, but a massive day in the world of Valorant. Yesterday was so much reaction around the Valorant scene to the official confirmation from Fnatic that Leo is not just stepping away from that organisation, but also, at least for the time being, stepping away from Valorant in general. So many tributes paid to who Leo was as a person, but also as a player in the time that he played professional Valorant on the very top level indeed. Many say this guy was simply the best player to ever touch the game, and as it stands, it doesn't look like he's going to be coming back. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I greatly appreciate it. We've got plenty to dive into with roster stuff before we get into the Leo discussion, and then the World Championship beyond that as well. SR Black are gone. They're keeping SR Gold, the Game Changers team that's done so well. But SR Black, interesting season for them because there was a time where these guys are actually quite competitive. Then it fell apart quite drastically. So we'll see if they manage to turn it around or if some of these guys manage to come back next season. We know that there's lots of talk even with organizations such as TSM that if they don't win, this is just a rumor, but if they weren't to win Ascension, will TSM even come back? We know that there are other organizations, let's say like Koi, who are getting kicked out, and they're like, well, we ain't supported tier 2 if Riot ain't going to support us. So these are some issues that are emerging right now in tier 2, but it's not like these are brand new discussions. Angel, we saw him officially announce his retirement from professional play the other day, and he's confirmed here that as his contract for Na'Vi expires after the World Championship, he is now able to explore options as a head coach, and I think that for good reason. Angel will be right in amongst these conversations. So looking forward to seeing where Angel goes, what he does next. He did talk, I think the other day, he threw some ideas up about it was just discussing really with the community some ideas on, let's say, meta on certain maps, how you should play on Haven, what some of your approaches are in terms of what agent selection you go for, and he gives some other opinions as well. So I thought it was pretty interesting. He says, like, I might be wrong, open to conversations, but thought it was cool to see Angel. Now he's obviously stepping away from playing, giving some of his opinions on competitive Valorant publicly, because always interested in what this guy's got to say. Speaking of the Americas, though, Furia are in a pretty interesting spot. Our understanding is that Leviathan around Sato are forming slightly more of a Brazilian team for the new season, whereas Furia apparently are looking more globally. This is an interesting one just because there's been lots of talk from many of the Brazilian teams that the state of the Americas, the fact that everything is played in Los Angeles, makes it more challenging for them to bring up younger talent through the Brazilian scene. But it's not like there aren't players out there, right? I mean, as Rocket Bullets lists here a number of talented players that are certainly notable in the Brazilian tier 2 scene. So Furia could continue down that direction if they wanted to, but it looks like they will be going more international. So intrigued to your thoughts on that. The other piece is on Loud. So what are they going to cook up? And actually, I don't know what they're cooking up here, but we'll just have a look at it. So Robbie BK and Leader are going to be gone. This should probably come as no real surprise. I think that Robbie BK is actually a pretty solid player, but was it ever going to work on Loud's? You know, let's be serious for a second. So Portuguese return for the roster, that is the big rumour, and as a result, they're looking at other Brazilian players. This is the article here from Poraleri that coach Leader is gone, Robbie BK is gone, and they're looking to keep hold of Pancada, keep hold of Cowanzan, keep hold of Verti potentially, and Luxo, right, who was very much so arguably the best player towards the end of the season. It would make no sense to move on from that. And then they did this tweet that had, of course, people talking about it because it was like, oh, here we go, changes are necessary to move forward. Thank you, Luxo. Every cycle comes to an end. But really what they're saying is that he used to wear, you know, the Hydra jersey as it's translated here, and now he's back in the black jersey and he's going to be distributing more bullets. So yeah, Luxo not going anywhere. We think that that's probably going to be the core of their roster going forwards. But just as I was putting up yesterday's update, Fnatic officially confirms the news that has been coming for a little bit of time. Kojo said, their top guy from like a team manager perspective, that Leo's not going to be coming back anytime soon. We'll have another update to share in due course. And I think it's commendable that Fnatic, during this period, have stood by Leo, kept him on board from the organizational perspective, and still tried to support him and, you know, wish him back to the best possible spot for himself, whether that's in Valorant or elsewhere. But it was never going to last forever, and at the end of this season, it seems like that, understandably, they are going to be moving on, as unfortunately will Leo as well. After 3 years of last-minute clutches, 2 international trophies, and being an undisputable fan favourite, we wish farewell to Leo. The last year hasn't been what we or Leo had hoped for. We were incredibly proud of his career, the career that he had with us, and for the achievements we had with him. For now, he will be stepping away from Valorant, and we wish him the very best in his future endeavours. So, it's still not totally clear exactly what happens with Leo, what illness he's been suffering with. I believe that Boaster has said on stream that it's effectively long COVID, other complications associated with that, and therefore his ability to play again in really any capacity has been under serious question, and it now seems that he, maybe understands, and the team understands that this is, it's not a return that anyone can count on. This is a real shame, right? Because Leo was a spectacular player. Like, the way that he played the game was so cerebral and just so impressive top to bottom that so many people watch Leo in awe a lot of the time, and also molded their game and their understanding of Valorant off his play. As Boaster says, proud to have been your in-game leader and your teammates. You won't be forgotten. No living in the past. I think one thing to say is that it's nice for Crashies in some respects, that at least for Crashies, he no longer has to have this kind of weight on his shoulders that, well, what if Leo returns? I'm going to be out of the team. So, I think I'm happy at least for Crashies that he gets to, lock in for the World Championship, right, and say, all right, I'm going to be here kind of no matter what. Even as Woot says here from Heretics, 50% of pro players learned how to play from this guy. My biggest achievement in my career is playing against a final against him, which is kind of something, right, given, Heretics' recent success out of the Esports World Cup. As Alpha says, such amazing years together, such a good friends. Everything I learned from you was a great experience. So, it's really sad to see, because a player of Leo's caliber, already one of the greatest ever in terms of just raw ability, but also in terms of accolades, what he could have gone on to achieve in the world of Valorant had this not happened over the last year or so. It's, as Mini Jake says, very depressing. Leo set the standards for how great Valorant should be, and most still, don't come close to his level at all. Durka just drops the simple goat emoji in the replies here. Gen.G Fishy says it was an honour to play against one of the best of all time. Basically every Valorant pro you can think of was in the replies to this. I thought this was kind of cool. One of the analysts here for Gentlemate says that in football people talk about top right Messi. You put any statistical categories together, Messi turns out to be in basically a statistical outlier. And in Valorant, he says that is pretty much true for Leo, and in his opinion, the best player that we have seen. Com says playing against this guy at the start of 2023 was insane. He was one of a kind for sure. Someone I learned a lot from that year. Should be considered one of the best ever. And I think Ryan makes an interesting point that towards the end of his tenure, he was already struggling before he stepped away from the team, and was still putting up pretty generational performances. So, what could have been? I mean, look, what was? I guess you got to appreciate the career that Leo did have, what he did bring to the table here in Valorant, and it was great to see him play at that level. But people will, mourn what Leo could have been in competitive Valorant. And look, maybe in due course, he may improve, he may be able to return, but it was not going to be this season. It does not appear that it's going to be next season, and as a result, Fnatic can, no longer justify maintaining him as part of the team, which is also understandable. So, as Jampy says, this is such sad news. One of the best players ever that we got to see. Wish him the best. Hope we get to see him on the server at some other time. Chronicle, insane player, very good friends. Sad day for Valorant. Wishing you all the best. So, Leo's not said anything about this just yet. He does the occasional tweet. He tweeted back in May in reply to Bonka. He tweeted back in June in replies to Alpha. So, but we don't see much from him. So I'm hoping that he maybe will give a statement at some point, or maybe he'll just make a statement when, hopefully at some point in the not too distant future, he may be able to return to competitive Valorant, because, still young. There's still future, I think, ahead of him, hopefully, but it's not going to be for now, and it's not going to be with Fnatic. So, sad day. Intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below for sure, but as a result of Fnatic officially making this announcement, they are set to play at the World Championship, and tomorrow everything gets underway. These are the groups, and Group A begins tomorrow. So Giant X Sentinels, Paper X versus XLG. Those are the opening 2 games of the tournament. Then Fnatic play on the 15th. So there are a couple of days later. It's actually the last games that are played. For some reason, it goes Group A, Group C, Group D, and then Group B. So anyway, Fnatic will play RIQ on the 15th of September. That's how things look as it stands, but very much interested your thoughts on all of this stuff in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.
Into the next round, and as you said, with the kill onto Cloud, Leo is going to get it one way or another. What is that shot? No, this man has been known for clutches, but this would be absurd. He isolates the duel onto Dino as well. This has gone from a 1v5 to a 1 versus 1 for Leo. He doesn't know where the last man is. In fact, he's wrapping round back through that defender spawn, checking that flank, hoping to try and spot out SSK, who still has himself that operator in hand. Leo, it seems like he's made the read, just watching back. The thing is, with the plant in play, there's so many angles still to check, but it seems to be watching the right one, although he's looked away at the moment. He snaps back and clutches it. Leo winning ridiculous rounds for this squad.